So we'll move our cameras and get ready to get through into the next game. And discussions about Hall of Fame inductees can wait for another moment, as FPX over on the blue side banning away the LeBlanc from about, and of course a couple of those really frustrating AP junglers that Kanavi has been looking to get advantages with. On the other side, the Leona, the Ashe, the Rumble, core bans on red side, it feels like, in a lot of ways. Renekton first pick, Tristana and Brand, the response from JDG.
Again, we're seeing a lot of this priority around the Renekton very early into drafts. It does give you stability in the early lane, but I have to say I question this every time I see it. Only a few players get to kind of have that Renekton first pick pass in the LPL, and JDG, I don't know if he's one of them. Sheer really ran over that early matchup. Maybe it's just trying to say, look, Sheer with a winning matchup did too much in that game.
Yeah, he was getting such ridiculous advantages purely off lane state, not much else. Hover of the Smolder is certainly not a lock-in, so we'll hold on that one. They might want to lock in a second AD carry, of course, but it does feel like Smolder in general has fallen away from the meta, so they go towards the Kai'Sa.
So, one thing that we were discussing in the break is about, okay, well, why did we see AD jungler from Kanavi? Wasn't AP mid just better with the AD carries? Well, what this allows you to do when you go towards an AD jungler is, like, you can do that when you have magic damage elsewhere. In bot lane, you have Ziggs and you have Kai'Sa. In top lane, you have Rumble. Now, that does allow you to have significant magic damage somewhere else in your kit. So that does mean that FPX, they probably still do want to go towards an AP jungler, but they have some extra magic damage here from Docdam as well, who can potentially cut through someone like the Cassandra with some magic damage.
Certainly a consideration, you're absolutely right. Kai'Sa's flexibility in build options, second only to Ezreal, it feels like, over the course of the career. They've both been pretty good at mixing and matching unusual build paths to get to various outcomes. The Lilia being banned away from Milky Way again, of course, don't want to give over that AP champion he's very comfortable on. Nautilus and some of those engaged supports a consideration on the ban table right now for FPX.
So, Yagao getting himself Tristana, also something which I think is just really important for JDG. Yagao is such a good carry, as we said. He had a fantastic Corki game, and I think that he's been very, very good at Tristana. One of the best Tristanas in the league. We have a couple of good ones. JDG, you know, if they know their own carry in the mid lane is strong right now, they know that Milky Way on AP carries can also be a big factor too. Couldn't really influence the game in the way that he wanted to on the Talia. He's going to have a lot of his other AP carries also removed. Lilia and that Diana taken away.
Last ban now for FPX. They could look to ban another engaged support, but of course the thing is they've still yet to pick their own. Missing will be able to fourth pick that support here in some capacity. They get rid of the Rakan, and the Missing is very happy to lock in at any given moment. Of course the Rel is still up, and I wonder if we just see a Rel lock pretty early here.
Could also go to, well, I mean, you can lock in Ezreal or Zeri and just say, look, we'll try and avoid the Kai'Sa assassination and just be better at repositioning in team fights. Ruler won the individual matchup versus Docdam handily in that last game. The old LCK AD carry face-off can be very powerful. Instead, Ruler, he does this sometimes. Sometimes he says, look, give me a whole look at the composition, see if I can counter it in the last bit. Missing goes for Alistar instead.
Can be a bit more frontline here as well. Your ability to press R and just reduce a lot of that damage pretty high. The Pyke gets through this time around. Life debating a lock in here. Well, okay into Alistar in the sense that you can execute through the low HP.
I think it's more about the early game. It's not really about that ult. It's about level 1. What does Alistar do about a Pyke?
Not a lot.
So there is the chance of that. They're not locking out right now. You go towards the AP damage from the jungle. We said it was likely to have an AP carry. Karthus coming through, which has fallen down a bit in priority in the LPL to the likes of the Lilia and the Zyra, which can be played in slightly different ways, and they bring some more either engage or disengage potential to your team. This is just full carry, and now you're looking for that last pick support. And you know, I wouldn't mind that Pyke, but it does leave you with no engage, so I'd prefer maybe the Rel.
Yeah, of course, the Karthus, when paired up with the AD carries that want to dive forwards as well, it adds in that little bit more threat when you do look for those picks in side lanes. The Pyke's locked in regardless, so we know what the game plan is. Pyke plus AD carry jumps on someone in a side lane in a jungle, and Karthus presses R.
However, I really think Pyke is so much about the early levels, because that combo is great, but you need to win that early lane to make sure that happens. Ruler, looking towards last pick AD carry, goes towards a Kalista, which is a strong level 1. You still need to be able to dodge out on that that Bone Skewer at level 1, but Ruler might be able to fight back with a strong laning carry here.
And once you get to team fights, Kalista plus Alistar is a very nice option for the Pokemon choice there for trainer Ruler. You can throw the cow in multiple times, of course, with his own abilities, and then that Fate Sealed can be pretty obnoxious, especially when FPX pretty shy on the frontline department.
So they don't want to be playing in a position where they have to take lots of damage. FPX, they have that Karthus, Corki, Kai'Sa as really good late game. The Renekton and the Pyke need to hold up the early game. We did say that FPX, they do draft in some quite bold compositions. This feels like one too. It's not an easy composition to play. If they fall behind, if the Pyke hasn't done enough by 20 minutes, the Pyke is not a champion. The Renekton, we've seen similar things too. So FPX, they have an early game onus on their composition. This is something they've done before, and they will need to see if they can out early game JDG, who just blasted them in that phase of the game in game 1.
Very different look at the composition. Of course, if you can snowball, suddenly the ability for the Kai'Sa to blow up some of these targets, or the Corki to blow up some of these targets with the assistance of a Pyke and a Karthus from miles away, particularly on that Karthus front, could be exactly what they need. If it gets to those team fights again, I'm looking at JDG's composition. I'm thinking it's going to be pretty miserable for FPX.
So, JDG, they need to survive the first few levels. It can be hard in bot lane. It can be hard in top lane as well. FPX, I really think they have a good angle in this early game. They've tried this before versus JDG. Can they do it again?
Jayo's seemingly over for now. The fan side's up and about. Kanavi being well supported there. A pretty iconic player now in the LPL after all these years.
I think he's been iconic for such a long time now too, thinking about it. I think that this guy has been, you know, ever since the JDG 2020 when he ended up winning through with that roster, he has done so much. You can see that FPX said they need to have some early game plans, walking in for a level 1 ward. If they can get information on Kanavi, it can make an awful lot of difference. Missing's going to walk over, sweep out that ward, at least protect at least some of the vision on that initial jungle camp.
Yeah, you could see Milky Way in the last game was doing very similar things in terms of need to scout this bush, need to scout that bush before I start on the Raptors or I get in a lot of trouble.
FPX, they did this against JDG before. They invade on one side for a ward, and then they go for a late invade on the other side of the map. So it's a double early invade at the level 1. Now Missing might have to flash out. Bone Skewer being charged up, and it does hit.
Yeah, so the Pulverize afterwards, forced to flash away, and that's a nice start to the lane. It means the invade comes on through swiftly from FPX.
FPX did this the exact same thing in the group stage versus JDG's second round robin, engaging on both sides of the map. So now you have Life. You can walk behind bot lane as well if he wants to. It's going to be, you know, Dr. Life walking back towards lane. He has started that Q. He can't go for the level 1 E, which he did in his last kind of dominant lane. Ruler and Missing still get themselves onto the wave, though, which is quite important. Need to not get hit by the Bone Skewer. They do dodge it. That's important. Every one of those Bone Skewers is so deadly in early game.
Can definitely be so. And the flash already being down for the Alistar could prove problematic if he goes forwards, and then suddenly their turnaround CC gets difficult to manage. Milky Way goes across and picks up the camps down there. You can see that Kanavi says, I don't want to invade too risky, and I don't want to leave myself with a split map with the pressure already on bot lane.
A quarter of the HP gone from Ruler. 2 skill shots hitting. Level 2 from that W on the Kai'Sa. Combo's up for a little bit of an extra plasma as well. You know, you get extra damage for each stack of the plasma you get, and then it's obviously executed at the end. So if you hit someone on 3 stacks as opposed to 0, you get slightly more damage from your passive. Yeah, you get a little bit more.
I thought it was just a proc.
Yeah, so it means that you get a lot of damage from it. So Kanavi now walking in. Milky Way, no mana, but does have that blue buff. Kanavi just going to make sure the blue buff is not started. Battle Milky Way looking potentially for a steal. No smite on Milky Way, which means Kanavi could get this for free.
It's going to start resetting here, and Kanavi at level 3 going to tank up a fair amount of damage from that blue buff. Resets away, and Kanavi says, yeah, I just can't do it, especially with a ZDZ able to move down.
Yeah, with ZDZ moving down, and this is exactly what the Renekton does, right? It gives them something to work with. Life on the roam, level 2 roam. He did this in the last game of Pyke too, but Kanavi's here.
Oh, Kanavi flashes for the Phantom Undertow, can't land either of the skill shots, and that's such a miss from FPX's support.
Oh, I think that's so good discipline from Yagao. He doesn't end up flashing early. He holds his nerve, doesn't even have the rocket jump available. Just use that flash to get out. Level 2 on Life still, but here's Missing.
He's gonna get some damage onto Kanavi, has to flash away himself. Phantom Undertow not quite on. Oh no, Life so close, but so far away. The damage back not there as he gets to go under the water briefly. Yagao goes down, gets a kill onto the Corki. Missing in danger, remember, still shy of the flash. Gets a big 3-man headbutt Pulverize, but it's just a stylish moment to sign out on his own demise.
And that is the early game Pyke impact you want to see. Care gets 2 kills. He now has himself a big advantage in that mid lane matchup, which Yagao really ruled in the last game. FPX needed the early game because they have that Pyke and the Renekton. It is hard to play them the later the game goes on, but they found it as it stands. And JDG, now they're the ones which have to play from behind.
Okay, well, they get a couple kills, and that's despite the engage from Life going just that little bit short. Some good play from the side of JDG, but the extended play still good, and they still get away with it. And 2 kills on a Corki early on. We'll get a look at the replay now.
You can see right here, again, you get really, really good play from him. Just really good discipline. Flashes out late, which is completely fine. Doesn't want to flash and then get hit by the skill shot. That would have been instant death. But then it's an overstay. I think Kanavi just misreads what's happening with jungle support. You don't have the damage here right now. Yagao's too low HP to jump onto the right target. So first part of this play, great from JDG. Then it's an overplay, which then allows FPX back into this early game.
Despite the Pyke not hitting skill shots, it wasn't necessary because it forced so much awkward maneuvering from JDG in order to avoid things like the Phantom Undertow.
Because now you have winning mid lane, and now you have winning bot lane, and the top lane is obviously pushing Xis Renekton too.
Yeah.
Milky Way can go in and invade as a Karthus, immediately take away camps. FPX, this is a heck of a strong start for them in this early game, and this is exactly what they needed.
And once they hit level 6, the ability for the Kai'Sa, for the Corki to hop on forwards and have the backup of an unseen Pyke of the Karthus pressing R, who's gone Dark Harvest in this game as well to really kind of index down onto picking up as much of that raw burst as possible, could get very, very scary. I'll note the Dark Seal back on the Karthus as well. They know what they're doing this game. It's pressing R, stacking as much damage as humanly possible.
There have been some changes to the Dark Harvest as well. It scales up better. It's worse as an early game room, but can definitely very much help. And when you're comboing up both that and that Pyke, you mentioned this before, when you've got everyone jumping forwards and those 2 executes threatening, means that JDG, their mispositioning is going to get punished really, really hard. JDG do sometimes do that as well. You can see that missing. Kanavi can sometimes jump forwards like that. Level 6 hit by Yagao. Can use that Buster Shot if he wants. Does have that brief level up moment where Kea is down in XP. He has himself that reset on the jump too, but Kea at least traded back well.
There's the level 6. Buster Shot wasn't popped by Yagao. That didn't feel like burning it straight away. Kanavi did initially set the dragon on fire. A little ironic considering it's an Infernal Dragon, but with the ward going on down, decides it's not a great idea, and the Brambis are way behind at this point.
I do have a bone to pick about that, because it's an Infernal Dragon rather than Inferno Dragon. Infernal means something from the Hells, which is, you know, often very, okay, Yagao doesn't have flash, he's going to get out of the way. But yeah, typically Infernal means something hellish, which we take a lot from Dante's Inferno. True. But it's definitely a bit different. Life, he might be getting sent there. Yagao first, though!
As well. Oh, my days. It's a 1-for-1. But Care gets probably higher value, you have to imagine it was. Kanavi picks up a kill necessary considering how he was falling behind.
Yeah, I really think Yagao dying there is much more important than the kill on the other side. Yes, the Pyke goes down, but gold onto the Corki is exactly what you want. The Corki can very much scale up. 3 kills on that pick, and FPX continue to find extra advantages, even though the Pyke does end up dying.
She has got a Q3 available, doesn't land it, so not much more to be found there is missing. Shows that he will be missing on the map once that control wall goes down, because Be in the Dark as Milky Way and Life team up together to go for an invade. Another upgrade on the smite there, pretty key. 2
level advantage in the jungle. So when you jump now, when you have Life who is roaming across the map, completely happy to do so, you can see that the Kai'Sa is sitting alone in lane completely fine. It's not on top side. Remember, they have the Pyke and they have the Karthus here. She is just going to be dead.
Certainly considering it. Here comes the rest of FPX and the Phoenix. Get some value down. They decide against it, think he's going to be a bit risky. Another wave coming.
Another wave's coming. Sheer is stayed. He still has flash, still has all out, but it's so hard to play against this right now.
Life goes under the water. The Ghost Water dive buying some time. Big W into the CC. Goes all out. Drags him under the tower. JDG in danger. Goes down. That is a very poor dive.
Sheer outplays FPX. They should have had him dead to rights. They have a level 7 Karthus on the top side, and they can't make it work. So JDG, they end up walking away with an unexpected kill. Cassante League of Legends happens, and JDG get to play strong side on bot side, which means that Doctam needs to be very careful.
Spot a couple members walking through his own jungle. Where is the Corki? They're going to try and engage onto him perhaps, but Doctam playing human ward here, pretty scary. They know missing is there. Huge damage onto Kanavi! Ultimate afterwards from Milky Way! Ensures a kill. Flash on 4 for Missy, trying to get the trample damage, but the Bone Skewer is here, because look who's back alive!
2 for 1 in the bot side jungle, missing Kanavi die because Doctam does a bit of sleuthing and a bit of battle warding. FPX call down the orbital laser, and JDG are being given a pretty stark reminder about what happens when you let this Karthus into the game. FPX's early game continues to be strong. 5 kills in less than 9 minutes. Kanavi kind of shut down quite comprehensively on this brand. Important stuff. We're going to go now see replay of what the heck happened here? This is solo. He just hits all his stuff. Oh. I mean, he flashes forwards, hits a good long range frost bomb, and the ult gets the kill.
There's the replay of the top dive, because Sheer gets a Q3, gets stunned up, there's a bit of a hook, but a W into an R and a tower shot does exactly what's required.
Sheer outplays. It really feels like FPX misplayed on that top side. You have 3v1 with such a high level Karthus. Should have instantly been a kill. Sheer outplays, doesn't die on that side of the map, so at least JDG gets something from that. Sheer is still very much in the game. A Konsante, which is even. It's very powerful. Life gonna get away, not comboed up with the complete stun there. Life will be much more in threat from that later on if he ever gets caught up in CC. We've seen exactly what happens. This is one of the reasons why Camille is such a good pick into the Pyke. Can't escape. CC's dies. Needs to be able to get out of that CC chain somehow. Watch out for that later.
Can prove very deadly indeed. Yagao chunked about half HP here. Kerr at 4-0-1. It's going to be an absolute menace this game.
Yeah, so JDG, they're within touching distance. Only 1.5k down. It's very early into the game to get that kind of lead, but still, all of that lead is basically in mid lane now. Kanavi's managed to claw his way back somehow. He was down an awful lot of camps. He is still down a lot of camps, thinking about it. He's not completely out of the woods just there. So JDG, they're not. They knew that this early game was going to be rough. They threw a little bit too much to the wolves there. They're going to take themselves. If they take themselves this dragon, that's really good for them because it means that maybe they can just claw back some of that gold when FPX look for future dragons because they already have one in pocket.
Yeah, Milky Way nearly at that level 9 mark as well, which means a full maxed rank ability. It was the Q. There we go. It took me a second to figure out how I was going to phrase that and paused awkwardly, but still doing very well in this game. All the while though, we can see JDG are still doing an okay job of holding on, getting a kill back onto Kanavi, who was falling pretty precipitously behind. Pretty key there to keeping him still in the game. The problem, as we've kind of noted, though, is this Corki is going to be allowed to run over the game as here come Grub spawns.
Grubs have spawned. So what are the big things? Life doesn't have 6. Missing does. He might have to use... Bloody hell!
God!
Damage coming through from both the Corki and the Karthus so strong. Karthus has his ult coming in a few seconds. Missing just from taking that chunk. I think JDG lose the Grubs.
Yeah.
Huge damage coming through before he even presses his ultimate button.
Yeah, he's not built any items yet, so he's not actually all that tanky unless the R button is running. I'll clear up some globes, and that's already the Might Spawn breakpoint. W just wide on missing.
Missing needs to be so careful. Has his ult, but that won't... Yeah, it's kind of hard to play around that when Milky Way can just press his ult after yours has run out too. So JDG lose that off of a good pick combo. Care, the max rank of that Phosphor Bomb. Look how much damage he's got again.
Boy. Yeah, it doesn't throw out the Bone Skewer, but does get a lot of damage down onto Yagao, who's going to have to back away just a little bit here, because I think sticking around with the Karthus ult back up again might prove deadly here for Yagao.
Life also just hit level 6 as well. So, FPX, this is the most powerful point in the game for them. Or, well, technically the most powerful point in the game is when Life goes on those early roams, and they use that pretty well. Now they have Life at level 6, Milky Way had big breakpoints coming through soon after this point. I think FPX really want to, again, force the next play. Make sure that maybe someone like Yagao or Ruler gets put down into the dirt. If you can get a kill into Kanavi, also very high value. Any of these squishies and kind of the mid part of the composition from JDG. While all this is happening, FPX very, very happy to use the threat to push JDG back to their towers because they don't want to walk up beyond their safe structures. Then that allows them to kind of walk up and maybe get an option to go into jungle camps. If that doesn't happen, they can go get plates somewhere else too. FPX have really good options right now.
Might fight potentially over the blue buff, taken there by Milky Way, missing in danger. Does pop the ult early this time.
So Missing has himself that flash, but Missing really caught out time and time again. He's walking up too far once more, and this time the cow hits the ground, put into the abattoir. Missing, poor game from the Alistair so far.
Really struggling to play frontline this game. And it was always going to be a hard game to play frontline in the early stages, but this is not what you want to see.
Yeah, no, I do think it's a hard game playing the Alistair into the Pyke. You knew the Pyke was an option. They go towards that Alistair for late game engage and frontline, but this is the problem. If you fall behind and Pyke gets onto the map with the Karthus, so hard to play the game. I also think this is something which Missing occasionally does. He walks up just assuming that he can face check, but there's no follow-up beyond this point. Normally, if you're face checking, we see this a lot on Rel, you double you backwards with a shield. What does Alistair do? He either has to press ult or he has to press flash, both very valuable tools. It means that Missing, once he's caught out, you need to commit to the fight or let him die. Missing has just been dying because JDG haven't been in a position to fight, which raises the question, why is he there in the first place?
Milky Way at sub 14 minutes has completed his jungle item. He is up, like I think something like 10 camps over Kanavi, and that's even with the increased bounty on camps if you leave them alone, but you get multiple stacks of your jungle item gone if you don't farm as efficiently as you'd like, and that's a big, big deal.
Yeah, he's got boots, first item, and that jungle item completed, so very, very strong. CDC walking down here, Missing, punts him into the wall. CC chain's good for now. Is it enough? He has Dominus, not able to completely get that kill, but it's a good chunk.
There's the Rend coming on through. Ruler will take a tower shot for it, but ZDZ is alive enough to at least clear the wave out briefly.
Clears out the wave. Don't know if you can stay for another one. But the thing is, if you take too long making plays here as JDG, you just know that there's a chance that Pyke can turn up in your lane. And again, look at the threat on both sides of the map. There's a Pyke on one side, Shears alone on the other side, but they have the Karthus ult.
Oh, Karthus comes on down. Remember, the all-out means there's not that many resists. Flash on forwards, gets the ult popping around, and Shear will likely die, but not before the damage is in many ways done. Kanavi stunned up with a Ruthless Predator, and the culling of the meat continues. Zombie brand put down. It's Call of Duty all over again.
JDG, they fail this wave defense, and, yeah, they're the ones doing the wave thing. Look, they have the zombies, all the same. Look, by the way, zombies been culled. It's been exterminated on that front. JDG, they took a little too long to make that play, and every time those plays take a little while, you can see that the Karthus, the Pyke, get to respond in their own time. ZDZ, he wasn't able to stick around for the wave clear on bot side to really get something down there, but this is a 0 grub push, and I feel like those grubs, they come into the forefront every time that we talk about cross maps. You know, FPX, if they get onto a tower, it's really dangerous. If JDG get onto a tower, well, maybe it takes another wave to do that. So, Shear, he goes up to try and punish Care from taking that full turret. But this is the thing. Karthus gets to gank the entire map at once. ZDZ gets to teleport in. He moves away from the bot lane, which does leave JDG an option there. But he knows he's completely fine to do that. Hops over the last remaining damage from the brand. And, you know, it's not even like they lose anything from him pushing away that, leaving that bot side, you know?
And the brand without a flash as well has already been pretty vulnerable in his own jungle. But if you are going to continually have the Pyke, the Karthus, the likes of a Corki and a Kai'Sa jumping into your jungle as well, Brand is going to struggle to stay alive here like this. That bone skewer just wide.
Just wide. Every one of those bone skewers at this point so powerful. We are getting to the point where maybe Cassante and Missing can get themselves good frontline. Shear and Missing need to be really turning up and doing their good frontline duty. The damage is so much in favor of FPX. The Dragon's going down too. JDG, can they even find a fight? No, they can't. Shear's on one side. Might be able to catch Milky Way, but he has flash.
Yeah, it does feel the need to use it, and wisely so, I think, as Dogdam in mid lane in danger. Ruler can't quite get that. Dodges the Phantom Undertow with a solid hop, and now Life in danger too. Is there an ult available for Life? Yes, but they're not going to need to use it. You have flash for flash.
Oh, Ruler! Fancy feat! Almost gets the kill on Dogdam. Outplays Life as well, and gets the flash out of Renekton. Ruler! Haven't seen that for a little while. Gets himself, basically a mini 1v3 dance.
It's DDR right here. Just manages that incredibly. Doesn't get the kills, however, and it's still with a flash down. So for all of the fancy feet required, still not actually going to earn him an advantage per se.
Well, I think at this point, JDG, they got to take what they get. And what it means that FPX, they need to reset. It means that they can't be pushing up in mid lane, and it means that they can go towards the wider map, knowing that you're not going to have Life, Dogdam, or even Milky Way in this case after his flash has gone down, really punishing you as much. This is important because we're getting to the point where FPX they are not as strong as they were. They are past their strongest point in the game. They're still stronger than JDG, but it's not quite as uncontested. Teleport into the mid lane. This could be quite dangerous. A lone turret teleport in against 4 people should be enough, and with the 6 grubs and the Herald, that will be at least an inner turret taken by FPX. Get some more gold to keep themselves just afloat of where they need to be in this game. They need to be ahead.
There's the picture-in-picture as Ruler just runs at Dogdam, forces the flash, gets the flash off Life as well. I feel perhaps bad about saying he didn't really get that much. He gets how many flashes? 3?
Yep, exactly. So he gets a lot of that. He gets a bit of a reprieve from the rest of the map, and you know, Ruler this time last year, or just coming out of MSI, was, I think, the best AD carry in the world, an argument for best player in the world.
Yeah.
Like a Ruler just hopped in front of the cannon there to make sure it couldn't get sniped out, but the Kai'Sa W just denying something. This year has not been awesome from Ruler. He has been fine, he has been good, he hasn't been exceedingly excellent, whatever adjective you want to chuck in front of it, because it felt like he could turn any game at 2 items. I think that he's had a couple of games now, like this one, like the last one, where he gets ahead of his opponent or gets a big outplay, to just make sure that he is kind of continuing to make sure the other AD carry doesn't have that same degree of freedom. And I think JDG kind of need a bit more of that. JDG's early game has largely been about Kanavi. If he's not necessarily popping off, you need someone else to make sure that they can pick up the slack.
I think it's been difficult for Ruler this game as well. After the level 1 invade, forced Missing's flash, after the fact that the map was split somewhat against them, you didn't really get to play the Kalista aggressively, particularly this game. This is the first moment it feels like he's had some freedom to look for a play. And, you know, at this point, it's still a 4,000 gold lead for FPX. A lot of that is in some very scary members. I am noting the Corki in particular. I'm noting the fact this Karthus is a very scary position this game. But even so, Ruler's going to have to try and pull his weight here where he can.
I think JDG are very grateful for the fact that there's no Baron spawned right now. Because if Baron was up, then losing this topside vision just really becomes game losing. See, right now, FPX, they're pushing up in all lanes. It means those plays like Ruler did earlier, and we'll see if anyone else can manage this too, where you just force FPX to reset on a timing they don't want. Buys you a lot of space. Missing... Once again, phase checking. I ate a bone skewer just before this, but remember, JDG, they're the ones that are getting pushed in onto their side of the map. If they can't respond anywhere to any of these lanes or either side of the jungle, it gets that much more dangerous. As we said, if you're not in a position to immediately all in when the bone skewer lands, I think JDG lose the fight.
It's going to be really difficult. At least Kanavi at this point is still managing to get some farm. I was getting worried he wasn't going to get any. He's still down behind the Carthus, of course, but...
Yes, it's still 40 CS advantage, almost 50. Milky Way on that Carthus is becoming so powerful.
Second
at
item.
this point, second item. It's the double burn, the Blackfire, and the Leandries. I will say, going for the Blackfire feels a little bit crap. I think it is a bit of a bait item. I think if you've gone towards the Malignance now, it allows you to make more of those plays on the timings that you need it to. Baron's now spawned. We did say, hey, JDG, last time we were looking towards this top side, if the Baron spawned, things would have gone very, very poorly. FPX, this is the last bit of their power. If they don't manage to get a good Baron power play, I think they get stalled out. They need to make sure the next minute or two really works out. Keep up this vision, keep forcing JDG to blow things defensively, and use this Fog of War like a weapon.
It does mean in the consistent fights here, Milky Way hovering off for a Q or two could do a lot of work with a double burn.
JDG, they're trying to push out mid lane because they know that their own jungle isn't safe. It's very hard for them to contest all lanes at once. And even with this, you can see that the Muramana transformation from Care means that the rockets poke a fair amount. JDG really need to be careful of contesting this mid wave now as well. The jungle's dangerous, the mid lane's dangerous too.
Wards continue to be made dark here as Missing will step on forwards. Doesn't land the Q there on Ruler. Still be in danger as the Wall of Pain comes down. Trying to fight for these wards. Can't make it happen. The W lands onto Ruler. Void Seeker being scary prospect as the game gets later and later. All the while, ZDZ and Sheer trading out the bot side. Good shove from Sheer. Might look to go all out. Not quite done yet as Yagao beginning to come on down. ZDZ goes towards the wave, looking for another dice to go alongside the slice. All out now, and ZDZ is in the 1v2. Are we seeing a Baron start on the other side? No, it's a teleport, and they want to play this. Get some damage. Buster shot, well buffered. But look at the Carthus ultimate coming on through. It'll be a 2-for-1 in favor of FPX. And now, make it a little bit more as Kanavi's in danger. Damage on the Dark Side is big. Keck has looked to go on forwards, will not get anything more. The Pyroclasm is enough to allow Kanavi to stay alive.
So it's still going to be 2-for-1 in the grand map state. FPX, they don't quite get the clean sweep they want, but they do get the dragon. We did say, hey, JDG getting that first dragon, kind of important, because it means they don't have to focus around it later. The fact that they go towards that big side lane play, and it takes a little too long again, much like the last time they tried it, is still kind of concerning for them. FPX still winning out. They are still the stronger team for just now.
And again, that ability to try and look towards a side lane pick is always going to be tricky because you've got to count in the Carthus every single time. It's proving so problematic. I'll have a look at the replay because initially it looked like ZDZ was going to fall here before support could get in time.
Yeah, but you still have that dominance, and again, this is the big power of having that big Carthus ult. They pull the teleport as soon as Yagao is fully committed, and we know how goddamn powerful Care is at this point too. ZDZ buys so much time, waits until the overcommit comes through, and then gets himself a really important kill. The Buster shot was good, but the stun had already come through, sadly, so they couldn't quite get the clean outplay from Yagao, and JDG left wanting just a bit. FPX, they still have this Baron to play around. They are still waiting for that big objective. That should be what they're playing around next.
Here we go again. ZDZ throws down the Dominus, looking for a chunk onto Sheer. There is Carthus ultimate, I think, available as well, so that could prove pretty problematic.
No, it's not. It's on cooldown. Missing's here, though.
Awkward from my angle there to mark that one out, so Sheer stays alive for now. Taken low, but not down. Is knocked away with the headbutt.
Now Milky Way's ult coming back now, but now you see Missing on the bot side. It has to be a play. Kanavi might just flash in. Going down to 4K, they have vision on the HP. Kanavi looking to be a thief once again, and FPX seeing that Yagao and Kanavi's damage put everyone so low. Pull off away from it. Yagao gonna survive through that with a locket shield coming through from Missing. Does allow him to survive. FPX try and play around the Baron, but they can't quite get themselves that objective. But much like the last time, they don't get the Baron, but they get something else. This time, it's a bot lane in a turret.
And Sheer all the while just about to survive. That ultimate 2 is on about 5% HP. Yeah, thanks for calling out the card. So I couldn't quite see with the light on the screen from where I am. So I was like, I think it's up. Can't quite tell. So, you scholar, thank you.
FPX, they will go back towards this Baron again. Need to really see whether they can use this Baron as a wrecking ball. Sheer has himself teleport, as does Yagao. They're trying to force this out again. Kanavi still has flash, but he is not here in time. I don't think he's going to be here in time.
It's too late. Kanavi is now actually here, but it's too late. The Baron goes down. And FPX now on the retreat. Flash on in from Missing for the double pulverize. Sheer looking to come over the wall as well. But the damage onto Missing is pretty huge. Here comes the Fate's Call though. Again onto 2. Damage onto Dactyl is huge. Who goes over to the other side of the fight with the Killer Instinct. Damage on the backline is monstrous. It's a 1-for-1. Make that the 2-for-1 as JDG at least gets something at the back end of the play.
JDG can't quite get themselves that big thing live. He's going to have the E out. He should still be safe. But FPX, they get away with 3 Baron buffs. Is that enough? We did say, okay, this is sadly a Renekton Pyke composition. Is that enough to get you through to the late game? If they end up losing objective bounties, don't know if it's going to be that easy again. There's, okay, so they're going to get themselves the objective bounty. That's going to be fine. JDG, they take away 3 Baron buffs. They get themselves an objective bounty. And considering their point in this game where FPX have a Pyke beyond 20 minutes and they have that Renekton, there are some scaling concerns. What we can see, though, is that JDG, they do get themselves a good clumped-up team fight. It costs them a lot of flashes. That might be very important later. Even with multiple flashes put through and Missing having to be punted into the play, it gets a little close. You can see that Dog Dam and of course the EDC gets some decent damage beyond the end of this, and that's on a retreating fight.
Lucky not to go even in that as well. Missing just about surviving. I appreciate the idea from Dog Dam, but couldn't get an isolated Q and made things quite tricky. Still, it is the Baron over. It's still a win for FPX in the grand scheme of things. They still continue to snowball, but as we've noted, the likes of the Pyke do begin to fall off that cliff as the game goes on.
Yeah, and you know, there's definitely scaling in the Karthus and the Kai'Sa and the Corki. It's just kind of at parity with the Brand and the Tristana, maybe the Callista, allowing the Alistar to be valuable too, means that, you know, JDG, I think they're still happier in late game than FPX just because of the whole aggregate, the whole average. FPX, they need to use this Baron power play. They're currently down. They're not that high up in this point. Kanavi's starting to get to a point where he can really shred through that front line.
Problem is, on the other side, the likes of Milky Way at level 16 just does so much work on even the Alistar. Executed with a death from below. X marks the spot.
Missing another bad face check. He knows that he has to be the one doing it, but once again, the team is not ready to follow up. They don't have the cooldowns.
Ooh,
they don't
hang
have...
on.
You think, Doctor?
Wait, the ult from Karthus might be enough. No, he gets off the fountain in time to burn. Not there quite in time.
Kanavi lives, but at what cost? We asked FPX to do good work with the Baron, and because of Missing's mistimed face check yet again, they get exactly that. The Baron buff, the power play goes from what, about plus 300 gold to plus almost 3,000. FPX really start to swing home, break open the base, get some big Baron power play bonuses from that, and with the Dragon now spawning, JDG need to be so careful of the next fight with these big items bought.
And now we are in the position where Dragon is spawning and overcome JDG. FPX will be here to think about contesting. But another W lands, and remember at this point of the game, anybody left at a low HP is in danger of being executed by so many members.
Yeah, you've got the W resets coming through. The objective bounty has been taken, and now suddenly JDG, they can play on the back foot. That's okay. I think they're better playing around Kanavi, laying down this burned life going forwards. Doesn't hit the hook. They're trying to corral them. It's not easy for them to find a big engage, though.
Kai'Sa at this point with the W cooldowns. This is the advantage that FPX do get as the late game goes on. Some of their ability to continue to hunt for picks and low HP targets is pretty high. That's what, 4 in a row at this point?
But it doesn't lead to anything, and that's the big thing. JDG, yeah, all of these are hitting. That's fine. JDG, they get themselves the Dragon, they get the objective bounty, and they get out. They're completely fine with that. That could have been the fight which lost the game. They walk away with an objective bounty, and they're fine with it.
Begin to continue siege for a little bit more. They get a hook onto Ruler, forced to flash. There'll be an ultimate in a moment or two as the burn is so huge. He's gone.
Ruler doesn't flash the skill shot and dies. Kanavi dodges out on the W, and FPX, with a composition which needed the snowball, which needed to get ahead of a break point, have managed to do that. JDG, one too many face checks, one too many missteps in the fight, and FPX pounce.
The only team fight they have found is at a Baron which they have already lost, and now they are in a position where their base is broken, their AD carry is dead, and their hopes in this game are dwindling.
ZDZ pops the Dominus. He's alone in the base right now. The tower falls, and Missing doesn't have himself any teammates to help him out. Missing dies yet again. 0 and 5 on the Alistar.
The Kai'Sa at this point is becoming increasingly obnoxious. The 3 items are there, 3.5 on the Corki, and JDG lose another member. Every inhibitor down. They can begin to try and break those inhibitor turrets if they so wish.
JDG, they have just really struggled to find that one pick which would break this early game aggression from FPX. Has now gone well beyond the early game, but it has just been rolling over since then. No vision allowed, no ability to get themselves pushing lanes. You can see that every single lane from the side of FPX has significant leads. Even this AD carry role, which Ruler has, near enough even game state, you just can't force the plays it the same way. I wonder whether JDG should have used Kalista flashing forward with the ultimate to allow a bigger gauge to come through early. I think JDG, they haven't found that thread the needle team fight to stop FPX rolling over from big team fight to big pick to big pick.
Breathe for a second. He's not in this game, but of course we are finally getting a moment of reprieve. It has been pretty high octane stuff over the last few minutes. Baron spawning in 30 seconds in life, continuing to be obnoxious. Is he really alone here? JDG have no idea.
It feels like a kind of question you ask in a sci-fi. Are we really alone out there in life, in the universe? Well, that's where you get like Kha'Zix coming in for the alien.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyway.
In your jungle, no one can hear you scream.
Well, God, it feels like that sometimes. We are now at a pretty late game. JDG, though, again, it's so hard for them to get themselves these big moments. You can see Milky Way using the Malignance with all of the burn to make sure he can just keep people pinned back. JDG are not allowed to walk forwards. And yeah, that was a stopwatch coming through from Kanavi. He goes forward. The Baron has been started, but JDG, I think they're actually with the Locket Shield. They're a lot higher HP than I thought they should be. Not anymore.
Alive, looking for Ruler is actually in danger. But the thing is, the game's ending. They're going to try and get back. They just need to interrupt some of these moments. Tower's going down. In danger. 3 members here. It's over. FPX pull the bait and switch, and the game just ends.
JDG, they ran away with a dominant early game in the first game of the series, but FPX are not left alone now on that point. FPX, they really roll over this game too. And JDG, I really felt like they just could not find that one play to break the momentum of the game. This was a hard composition for FPX to play, but real credit to them. They made it work. Not many teams would go for this style of composition, and